At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber centuries ago, I did not fathom the true power of knowledge. To know the future, Raziel. To see its paths and streams tracing out into the infinite. As a man, I could never contain such forbidden truths. But each of us is so much more than we once were. Do you not feel with all your soul how we have become like gods? And as such, are we not indivisible? As long as a single one of us stands, we are legion. Our futures are predestined. Mobius foretold mine eons ago. We each play out the parts fate has written for us. Free will is an illusion.
I found the tomb of Kain. How could you profane a priest by turning him into a vampire?
How could I not? One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer. Who better to serve me than those whose passion transcends all notions of good and evil?
The Sarafan were saviors, defending Nosgoth from the corruption that we represent. My eyes are opened, Kain. I find no nobility in the unlife you rudely forced on my unwilling corpse.
You may have uncovered your past, but you know nothing of it. You think the Sarafan were noble, altruistic? Oh, don't be simple. Their agenda was the same as ours. You nearly had me, Raziel. But this is not where or how it ends. Fate promises more twists before this drama unfolds completely.
Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny. Where am I? Is the usual question. In your case, when might be more apt.
Very well, you old snake. If you'd prefer I use my bare hands.
This is completely unexpected. This orb disables our vampire enemies, leaving them helpless and incapacitated. Strangely, it seems to have the same effect on that peculiar weapon of yours. But you must believe me. I mean you no harm.
You can drop the benevolent facade, Mobius. I know who and what you are. I should kill kill you where you stand.
Perhaps you should, my boy. But you don't.
Are you so certain of that, Mobius?
My role as Time Guardian affords me a certain level of omniscience, Raziel. No, you don't kill me. That honor belongs to your maker, Kain, some 30 years from now.
You two are a pair. You're just as fatalistic as he is.
Death comes for us all, Raziel. It's just a matter of time.
How is it that you know my name? We have never met.
On the contrary, Raziel, I know you very well. And it grieves me to see how cruelly Kain has used you. I knew you when you were one of the Sarafan Brotherhood, Raziel. We were even close.
Oh, please.
Fortunately, you need not love me now to be my ally.
Are we within the stronghold of the Sarafan priesthood?
Yes, but the glorious days of the Sarafan have long since passed, I'm afraid. This is a more cynical and indecorous age. My mercenary army now inhabits this stronghold. We strive to honor the memory of the Sarafan with our own humble crusade.
Is this the vampire Vorador?
Yes, the scourge of the Circle, the most depraved and decadent example of his whole degenerate race. He slaughtered 6 of my fellow Guardians as they cowered defenseless in this room.
And you somehow survived this massacre?
I and 2 others. The Circle was devastated. Only we 3 were spared.
How convenient. You'll forgive me if I don't naively devour every scrap of information you toss me. You have a reputation for deceit.
And who has slandered me, sir? Your malefactor, Kain? The one who betrayed and destroyed you? Our common enemy? Consider the source before you judge me too harshly. We'll forget about rekindling our old friendship then. But consider an alliance based on our common ground. We both want Kain dead. I can help you do it.
You don't want to meddle in this, old man. I know all about your sordid little schemes, but you're simply out of your depth on this one.
You underestimate me, Raziel. Let me show you. Even now, Kain is lying in wait for you, unaware that I've snatched you out of the time stream and brought you here to me. See how he lingers at the very pillars he is destined to destroy, foolishly confident that he has eluded your grasp.
The pillars are still standing in this time.
Yes, Raziel. They are the embodiment of the divine force which preserves the life of our world. We who serve the pillars maintain their delicate balance, and Kain is destined to be the fulcrum upon which that balance turns. I believe you have already endured the wasteland wrought by his terrible, selfish decision. Kain's very existence is a cancer upon this world. As long as he lives, all of Nosgoth is in peril. You may never again be human, Raziel. But you can re-embrace the essence of your humanity and the nobility of your Sarafan heritage. Go to him, Raziel, and end this. But first, you will need to find your way out of the stronghold, and in this, I'm afraid I cannot help you. My soldiers will not understand your appearance here. They will try to kill you. You needn't fear them, of course. They're no match for you. Try to keep the casualties to a minimum. But do what you have to do. All great movements require a few martyrs.
Alone now, I surveyed my surroundings and noticed a second time-streaming chamber. Its entrance identical to the first, but with one distinction. That crystal was significant, but how? I had not yet discovered.
You really think it's a good idea to trust a time streamer? Hey everyone, I'm Eric, also known as EMC150, or just DMC for short, and welcome... Okay, I thought he was reacting to something. That was an idle animation. And welcome to the start of an all-new Let's Play, or a continuation of the one that just finished, perhaps? This is Soul Reaver 2. As you saw from our opening cutscene there, it literally takes place directly after the end of the last game. In fact, that was a cool cinematic reenactment of the final boss of the first game. And so, finally, we have good camera controls. That was probably my biggest complaint in the last game. The camera controls are now on the right stick because we're playing this on the PlayStation 2. And there's a few nice changes for additions. As you can see now, square or triangle to attack. Triangle is no longer your kill shot, it's a heavy attack. And we now have a blocking mechanic, but you can't block the powered up attacks that this guy's doing. There's also a duck, which can be used to dodge horizontal attacks. And unlike before, you can kill things without weapons. And Mobius is still around with his scepter somewhere, so we do not have access to the Soul Reaver despite the fact that we are full health. And as he says, please, keep the casualties to a minimum, and then the game forces us to kill them to continue. So do what we must is what we're doing. Right now I'm trying to bait him into attacking. And so the combat is definitely a little more improved. Controls are a little better, they feel a little less clunky, although I will say that I still have the same issue with dodging in this game that I had in the previous game, where a lot of the times I'll feel like I'm trying to dodge to the left, for example, and I'll dart forward or jump back instead. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it still works. I didn't mean to put my weapon down. So there's actually crouching attacks too. So combat definitely a bigger focus, definitely, more polished. And just wait till we actually get the Soul Reaver back. And so just to kind of touch on some of the story we've seen so far is we are in the past. So Soul Reaver 2 doesn't have a subtitle for it because it's a more serious game. But honestly, I would have probably put Adventures Through Time, because this game actually has quite a bit of time travel in it. And not in a convoluted sense, it's actually really well done if you ask me.
Throughout the stronghold, I discovered evidence of my former nobility and my life as a Sarafan priest. This was the heritage so foully stolen from me when Kain raided my sacred crypt and defiled me.
Whoa! Oh, I love that. I dodged one way into an attack from off camera. So this game, actually much like the last game, when you're fighting multiple enemies, they tend to back off and attack one at a time as opposed to attacking all at once. Although every now and then they'll get brave and you'll have a second one kind of come in and get a pot shot while the other one's vulnerable. So you do have to be a little careful. But all in all, if you just simply pay attention to your surroundings, you can do pretty well. It's not that difficult. And so some of the controls are actually changed around slightly, more so the camera stuff, obviously, because that's now the analog stick as opposed to the L2 and R2 buttons. So R2 is now your look button, your look around, and you got a nice little reticle when you're aiming. And one thing that bothers me about this is the y-axis. The y-axis is still inverted, and I don't like that. There's no way to change that. And is this the? Oh yes, it is. That is something that will come into play later. Our Soul Reaver is being suppressed. We have a map. That's new to this game. And sadly, this game is much more linear than the last, although the last game didn't exactly have a whole lot for exploration. But that is our shifting menu thing that would come up before, and look at that, like the ambience here, the everything going that blue-green. It did that in the last game. It was more green, but like the colors really pop in, like that purple miasma or miasmic look in the distance. I really like that. It really changes the tone of this place and makes it a lot more atmospheric. I really like what they did with the visuals in this game. It's a big jump from PS1 to PS2, mind you, but still, it's just the overall aesthetics are very well done, if you ask me.
Away from the influence of Mobius's cursed staff, I could feel the strength of the Soul Reaver slowly returning. If that orb was as debilitating to vampires as it was to the blade, it gave Mobius a powerful advantage over his enemies. I finally understood how Mobius's crusade could decimate the vampires so successfully. If he could immobilize his enemies, they were at his mercy. But why, I wondered, would the staff have any effect on the Reaver?
Yeah, and also I'm going to take a little second that came up here. I hope my audio is a little better in this playthrough, because I'm aware my other playthroughs have been on the quiet side audio-wise, and I have no idea why. Because everything is nice and loud when I'm recording, and when I'm even editing, it's all fine and dandy on my end. But that soul is really freaking out back there. But then once I've uploaded it onto YouTube, if anyone plays it back on anything other than like my laptop, essentially, which I did everything on, it seems super quiet, and I have absolutely no idea why. So I'm actually now recording on a different setup. I have a new laptop, and I've filled it around with my settings. I tried to make it a little better in the last Soul Reaver, in the first Soul Reaver playthrough I did, and I think it turned out a little better than previous ones. Hopefully this one's even better, and I'll get it at some point.
As I neared the stronghold's inner sanctum, a strange sensation crept over me. An indescribable feeling of displacement, a sense of vertigo, as reality itself appeared to warp and bend around me. The disturbance seemed to emanate from the sanctuary's furthest chapel. As I cautiously approached, the sense of dislocation intensified with each step. So this was the tomb of the beloved King William the Just, beatified here as the martyr and catalyst of Mobius's crusade. I was reminded of Kain's journey as a fledgling vampire, how Mobius coerced him to travel back in history and assassinate William, thus igniting a genocidal hatred of vampires among the citizens of Nosgoth. And here I discovered the source of the displacement. The Soul Reaver itself, laid out like a holy relic, and broken, apparently in the battle between William and Kain. I had not thought such a thing was possible, until, of course, Kain shattered the blade against me when he tried to strike me down. Thus, the captive spirit inhabiting the Reaver was released, and binding itself to me, became my symbiotic weapon. And so the Reaver met its former self, still imprisoned in this corporeal shell. I watched, mesmerized, as the Wraith blade uncoiled itself and snaked down the length of the physical blade. Embracing its twin, its mirror self, the Reaver's long-dormant spirit was now fully aroused, and for the first time,
I felt the true presence of this other entity. Willful, ravenous, and deranged from thousands of years of imprisonment. The Reaver was now in command, and I, now merely its helpless host, felt my soul being leeched to restore the blade. But the Reaver knew better than to destroy its host, and just as I neared the brink of oblivion, the blade released its hold on me. As I recovered, I realized we were now bound together in a fragile alliance. The Reaver no longer merely my symbiotic weapon, but a sentient parasite competing for control. What have you done to me, Mobius? Is this your trap?
How mine? Don't forget it was Kain who led you here, not I. While you curse me, the only soul in Nosgoth ready to guide and assist you, Kain laughs at our folly and revels in your dismay.
These blades, now coiled in sinister embrace, have inspired terror in the hearts of creatures far more durable than you, old man. Bound together as they are, I can only imagine what they could do to your soul's fragile shell.
Raziel, I beg you to stay your hand. This was none of my doing. I have sought only to aid you in your righteous quest.
Why, you're trembling, Mobius. Has your confidence abandoned you? You seem to have made a fatal error by leaving your precious staff behind. Is that where all your courage comes from?
Listen to me, Raziel. You don't know what you're doing. I have taken an enormous risk by appearing here before you, so defenseless, yet eager to prove my good intentions. If there's anything left of the Seraphim in you, you won't do this. While you threaten me, your true enemy eludes you.
Don't concern yourself with Kain, old man. He'll join you in hell soon enough. As you said, death comes for us all.
Yes, the wheel of fate demands it.
What did you say?
The wheel of fate. The inexorable cycle of death and rebirth to which all men are compelled. We serve the same God, Raziel. To strike me down would be striking God's own attendant. And I don't believe even you would take that risk.
I tire of your games, Mobius. Now that I know you fear me, I needn't concern myself with you. Kain is waiting for me.
Go then, Raziel. Seek Kain out and destroy him in the name of the one God we both serve. You, who were once a Seraphim priest, murdered, profaned, destroyed, and reborn again from his mercy, you are now most powerfully equipped to be his agent, his instrument of restoration and retribution.
My own vengeance is motivation enough.
By my soul, you almost had me, my little blue assassin. But that'll be the one and only chance you get. I assure you of that.
I could now summon the blade at will, regardless of my strength. But once summoned, the blade's ravenous appetite could not be contained. It devoured the souls of its victims, and if I allowed it to become over-aroused, the Reaver would now turn its hunger on me.
Yeah, and that's why you shouldn't trust time streamers. They manipulate everything they can. But that is an interesting new mechanic. There we go. Double tap circle. You're supposed to be able to summon and put that away. It's sometimes finicky. Alternatively, that's what this is. So that new mechanic, as he was saying, that it devours...
So this was the legendary Janos Ordrin, reputed to have been the most ancient and diabolical vampire to have ever existed. According to folklore, He lived high in the cliffs of Nosgoth's northern mountains and preyed mercilessly on the defenseless villages below. His reign of terror ended when the Sarafan finally hunted him down and tore his throbbing heart from his still-living body. This relic came to be known as the Heart of Darkness, and was supposedly imbued with the power to restore vampiric unlife. The Sarafan therefore guarded it carefully, lest the heart fall into the hands of their enemies. But I wondered, could Janos Ordren truly have been as monstrous as depicted here? Or was this merely artistic license by the Sarafan, who sought to lionize themselves by demonizing their darkest enemy?
Pretty cool, huh? So, as I was saying, it will devour the souls of the enemies you kill with it. And there's that little meter that's starting to fill up along my health there. The more that goes up, the stronger the Soul Reaver becomes. When it devours a soul, it gets a big boost. The downside is, if that fills up entirely, it starts draining your health. So you have to try and find the balance between powering this thing up and taking enemies down quickly, and being careful, because you get a little too greedy with that and you might start losing. You might end up unintentionally losing a fight in the material plane. See, look at how much that went up just from killing that. And I'm fairly certain the stronger the enemy, the more it fills up. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
Strange how my history came full circle. This chapel, I realized, was a memorial to my former Sarafan brethren and myself. All of us martyred here, and then so cruelly profaned by Kain when he imposed his gift on our noble corpses. For the first time, I beheld the image of my Sarafan self, memorialized here among my fallen comrades. It tortured me to see how noble and pure I had been, and what a vile phantasm I had become. And a profound sense of injury, of loss and betrayal welled up in me, so overwhelming I could barely contain it. All I wanted at this moment was to find Kain and destroy him.
Ah, right on cue. And so, no, wanted to put that away, wrong button. So one thing I actually do like about the unarmed combat, if you're not using the Soul Reaver, ooh, that was the wrong direction. You can stun lock enemies. Light, light, heavy, and repeat. So long as they don't block your first hit, you will have them stun locked, unless there's someone around to interrupt you. That is really handy. I came in through that door, I think. I believe I did. I can't phase through that because there's something barring that. This is where I want to go. And they still have the old school Soul Reaver 1 style weapon here. That hallway's kind of dark. Camera, thank you. Camera was fighting me there. I'm not sure which way is faster, where the door is there. Oh, here it is. I went the quicker way. There we go. I used to get lost in this place all the time. And the stealth kills that you could do in the first game there, like, you know, throw your weapon at an enemy that hasn't seen it, you kill it immediately. That's not unfortunately that's not a thing anymore, or at least I've never been able to get it.
I emerged, and for the first time beheld Nosgoth in its former glory. The land overflowed with a abundant life and vitality. And I knew with certainty then that the world I had left behind was nothing more than the corpse of Nosgoth, a lifeless husk bled dry by the corruption of Kain's parasitic empire. This was the fragile world Kain sacrificed to preserve his own petty life and ambition, heedless of the profound cost. The sight only deepened my resolve. I sensed that the pillars lay to the northwest. If Kain truly waited to confront me there, I would not disappoint him.
Okay. Some nice scenery. Now this is actually not where I'm supposed to be going, but I want to at least show this. Not the swimming, because the swimming is back.
I did not yet possess the means to unlock this barrier, but this enigmatic symbol was clearly the key.
Because I'm pretty sure we will never, because I can English, we will not get that dialogue if we come here later, when we actually have what's required to open that. So, we are just over 30 minutes, so we are gonna call it on this thing as soon as I... Where am I? Seriously? Am I... Oh god, the camera. Why did I jump into the water first? Oh, I actually do remember now. Where is that? This is it. I was thinking I was on the other side of this. One last thing for today.
As I passed this arcane landmark, a wisp of the Reaver's energy was drawn into the ring, illuminating it. This created a beacon of sorts in the spirit world. If ever I found myself depleted in the spectral realm, and my soul tossed on the ethereal winds, these beacons would draw me back to safety and restore me.
So those act like checkpoints, as he just explained, where unlike the last game, if you died in the spectral plane, you would end up back in the room with the Elder God where you start at the very beginning. This game doesn't have that. Instead, you'll end up at the last one of these that you've walked past. And the glow in that there from the Soul Reaver energy, yeah, that tells you it's active. And this is where we're going. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do that. Swim under. Come on, keep swimming. Thank you. I'm not a big fan of the swimming controls.
These ancient obelisks were mysteriously attuned to my spiritual essence. By simply touching the symbol, I could safely preserve an imprint of my soul, and thus create a milestone to which I could return when weary, and from which I could resume my journey.
And that's the in-game description of a save point. You can't save anywhere in this game, or anywhere you want in this game, like you could in the previous. You need to use these save points. So, well, as I was saying before that happened, the swimming controls are a little better, but they're still a little finicky if you ask me. But either way, that is going to bring us to a close for today. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you'll come back to see what else this time has in store for Raziel. Until then, take care, you hear?